Meet the Eureka Perfetto, your all-in-one coffee grinding powerhouse with 50mm flat burrs, a quiet 1350 RPM motor, a versatile stepless adjustment system, time-based programmable grinding for single and double shots, a manual grinding mode for single dosing, a 300-gram hopper and a portafilter holder, all packed into a sleek and compact design. Well, hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Sean, aka the Drumming Barista, and today we're diving into a super special review of a product that has been a staple on my coffee bench for the past 3 years and remains one of the best coffee equipment investments I've ever made. It comes by the name of the Eureka Perfetto coffee grinder. So grab yourself a cup of coffee, sit back, relax, and let's get started. So as I've already mentioned, I've owned the Eureka Perfetto grinder now for 3 years. I'm not sure why it's taken me 3 years to create this review, but if I had to give you a solid answer, it would simply be that I've been having such a great time with it. I haven't had the time until now to create a full-length review. I unboxed it, I set it up, I ground some coffee, and the rest is coffee brewing history. Now, throughout this video, I'm going to share with you all the information from the manual and of course Eureka's website, while also adding my comments at the end of those sections. So make sure you are paying attention to every little piece of information that I've shared and also catching my thoughts. So guys, let's dive in and see if this is the grinder for you, if you can find one. First up, let's talk about the design and the build quality. The Eureka Perfetto has a sleek, modern design that in my opinion fits perfectly in any kitchen or in any coffee bar at home or in a cafe environment. Let's not miss its striking white color, which next to my espresso Still Duo espresso machine is a match made in aesthetic heaven. Plus, I'm a creative and a self-confessed hipster, so of course that means I put stickers on everything because you also know what that means. More stickers equals better coffee, said absolutely no one. What a stupid comment. Anyway, let's carry on. In true Eureka fashion, the Perfetto is built like a tank. I've heard of cafes around the world using the Perfetto as a standalone single dosing grinder for single origins or as a decaf grinder. This would be due to the fact that it has 50mm flat burrs that are an absolute joy to work with and make dialing in multiple types of coffee for different brew methods super easy, but more on those burrs later on in the video. The controls are intuitive and easy to use, and yes, it does have a touchscreen. There is a neat little grind timer for single and double shots, which is really built for full hopper use when you are putting a lot of shots in the day. The timer feature doesn't really make sense for single dosing usage, which is why I suggest that you just set it to manual mode, which gives you 60 seconds of grinding time. The adjustment dial is situated on the top of the grinder and is super easy to adjust, but I will touch on the dial again shortly. So now I've already mentioned a couple, but the Eureka Perfetto features the following. Its burrs are 50mm hardened steel flat burrs. It has stepless grind adjustments. The motor features a 1350 RPM motor that's both powerful and quiet. In my opinion, the acoustics of the Perfetto are super satisfying. As I mentioned, it has a 300-gram hopper, perfect for pouring a whole bag of coffee into, or for single dosing if that is your thing. It measures 41 centimeters in height, 15 centimeters in width, 23 centimeters in depth, making it compact enough to fit on most countertops. It weighs in at 5.6 kgs, it's sturdy but still manageable to move around if needed, a metal cradle that clips into the front of the grinder to hold your portafilter while grinding directly into the basket. Now I have to say, the metal cradle is the most annoying part of this grinder, but I will explain why later on in the video. Jumping into the performance and the versatility of the Eureka Perfetto grinder. Performance-wise, the Perfetto is a beast. The 50mm flat burrs deliver consistent and uniform grinds every single time. Whether I'm brewing a shot of espresso or a French press, this grinder handles it all with ease. Now, due to the flat burr and 1350 RPM motor, those burrs can spin and they spin fast. I grind 21 grams of coffee for espresso in roughly 25 to 30 seconds and 15 grams of coffee for filter brews in roughly 13 to 16 seconds. One of my favorite features is the stepless adjustment. It allows for an infinite number of grind settings, so you can dial in the perfect grind for any brewing method. I enjoy that it does take a little bit of force to turn the dial and to adjust the burrs, as that allows you to slow down and helps for precise control over the grind size. Talking about the grind size, if you haven't already picked up on my comments, the Eureka Perfetto is labeled as an all-rounder, as it grinds from espresso all the way to French press. So if, like me, you want a grinder that can seamlessly grind for an espresso to a V60, and then the odd French press with a twist of a knob, you still want to chat with your loved ones and friends without the loud screaming of the grinder. You want to easily clean your burrs with less hurdles. The Perfetto is the perfect grinder for you. Now, let's talk about user experience and maintenance. First of all, when I was at my local coffee equipment store buying the Eureka Perfetto, the sales pitch was that the Perfetto and the burr set is designed to grind 10 kgs of coffee per week. So I instantly thought to myself, wow, it's a grinder for life, as I genuinely grind between 300 to 400 grams of coffee per week, including my wife's single shot flat white every morning. Big tick for sustainability, I suppose, bang for my buck, and once again having a grinder for life. The Eureka Perfetto is surprisingly easy to clean. The top burr is removable, making it straightforward to brush out any leftover grounds. Now, over the past 3 years, I've made sure that regular maintenance has kept it running smoothly. As I don't run a huge amount of coffee through the grinder every week, I set aside one Sunday every month to clean the Eureka Perfetto, which includes, of course, taking the top burr out, brushing any leftover coffee grounds out, and then sucking up the rest with the vacuum. And honestly, guys, that's all it takes to clean the Perfetto. All right, so let's sum up some of the pros and cons before jumping into my final thoughts. The Perfetto is built to last and could quite easily be branded, in my opinion, as a final grinder. It's perfect for all types of brew methods. It delivers uniform and fluffy grinds every single time. It's super simple to clean and maintain, and most importantly, easy to reassemble. As I mentioned, it's super quiet with that 1350 RPM motor that keeps noise to a minimum. Now, some more pros and cons. At the time of purchasing the Perfetto, it was an expensive grinder. It cost me 1,000 New Zealand dollars, and I got a discount as I personally knew the owner of the store. But in saying that, I live in New Zealand, which is one of the most expensive countries in the world to live in. Noise, like most grinders, it can be a bit noisy, though quieter than many of the other competitors that are out there. Retention. The Perfetto is a hungry grinder. On average, it holds around 1.5 to 3 grams of coffee. You may have noticed that is why I swapped out the hopper with a bellow. So let's talk about that portafilter cradle. The one thing that I really dislike about the portafilter cradle is that it is a full metal construction. Now, when it's clipped in to the grinder itself, and then you place your portafilter onto it to grind your coffee beans, grind your coffee beans into the portafilter basket directly into it, because of the construction and because it's fully metal, the portafilter moves around. Because of course this is a flat burr and it's got a decent sized motor on the inside of the grinder, it's spinning those burrs pretty quickly. And the vibration that goes through the grinder is, of course, quite intense. So I've had times where in the early days of using this grinder and grinding for espresso, where the portafilter has actually fallen off of the cradle. And then my coffee grounds have spilt all over the bench. And then, of course, that's a wasted shot, right? So if there's one thing that I would really want to change about this whole grinder, it would just be the construction of this portafilter cradle. It sucks, and I think it's a bit of an oversight from Eureka. I have not used any other Eureka grinder, so I do not know if the portafilter cradle is the same as this, but I would just like to have seen like a little rubber cover or just something on it that would just make this cradle better. Just a rubber cover just on here that covers the forks of the cradle to stop it from spinning around, because that clips in there and then that's it. But your portafilter sits on there, but it's really, Eureka, I hope that you've sorted that out with your other grinders. I really do. As I've said, I haven't used any other Eureka grinder, so that's the first I know of it. If anyone is watching this video, you have a 3D printer or you have some rubber that you can send me or know somewhere or know something of a new portafilter cradle, please let me know because I'd like to replace it. Thanks. But honestly guys, the pros far outweigh the cons for me. As mentioned at the beginning of this video, it has been money well spent, and after 3 years of daily use across a wide spectrum of brew methods, it is still going strong, grinding super fluffy and consistent grinds, and has never once failed me. Okay, so here we are. After 3 years of daily use, would I still recommend the Eureka Perfetto? Abso-freaking-lutely. This is the easiest coffee recommendation that I can give to absolutely anyone. I've been recommending this grinder every single day to coffee professionals, home baristas, and everyone else that has asked me on my Instagram and all my social medias, and friends and family that have come over to see it. It is a fantastic grinder. It's got a lot to love. It looks incredible. It's amazing on the coffee bench. It's striking. It's really easy to use. As I've mentioned, the adjustments all the way from espresso to French press are just easy. They are easy to see. They're easy to read. And yeah, it's just fantastic. Now, the other thing that I say, because one of the main things that people think about and take into consideration when they're buying a grinder is the noise. So here you go. Okay, I'm not running any coffee through it, but like I'm talking to you right now and you may be able to hear the spinning of the burrs, the motor going, but it's super quiet. I know that I'm sitting here on my kitchen bench, but on a marble bench top here, so that's obviously taking up that's like soaking up some of the vibration and the sound. You can see the timer at the front is going, and then you can see how easy it is to also change the grind size. Just with a little turn of the dial there, sorted all the way to the most coarse setting that you can go on the grinder, which is French press and a little bit beyond actually, which is quite funny. So I don't know whether maybe the calibration of the burrs has gone out just a little bit there, but yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. Of course I recommend it highly. If I didn't recommend it, I wouldn't be making this video for you guys after 3 years of owning it. It's a reliable, versatile, and high-performing grinder that has truly leveled up my coffee game. Now, if you are after an all-rounder grinder from a very reputable brand that is a bit different from all the ones you see popping up lately, that is in between the likes of the Varia VS3 Gen 2, the niche Malkonig X54 with flat burrs, fast grinding, low noise, easy to dial in, then the Eureka Perfetto is for you. But there is 2 problems. Here in New Zealand, the Eureka Perfetto cost me 1,000 NZD, and as mentioned, that was after a very kind discount, so it is expensive, and I understand that in this current climate, that's a lot of money to be parting ways with. The second problem is that here in New Zealand, this particular model is no longer available and has been replaced by the Eureka Specialita. The only thing with the Specialita, and correct me down in the comments if I'm wrong in saying this, is that the Specialita is an espresso grinder. It is not an all-rounder. So this is a bit of a roadblock for many, meaning that you'll have to import it from another country, which brings with it many different sets of problems and of course extra fees. Or you'll simply go with another grinder from one of the other brands that I've mentioned above. The next point to add to that is because the Eureka Specialita is more focused on espresso, I think, correct me if I'm wrong please, if you wanted an all-rounder grinder, it then essentially means you have to go out and buy 2 grinders. So you need one for espresso and one for filter. Yes, okay, granted you can go and get yourself a hand grinder, say like the Time More Chestnut CS3, I believe it's called, or the new Varia hand grinder, or one of the multiple options that are out there on the hand grinder market. But it still doesn't take away from the fact that if you're someone like me who changes between espresso and filter and or actually favors filter coffee more than espresso, you're going to have to buy yourself a second grinder, which means you've dropped however much one of the Eureka grinder is or are in your country, another investment, dropping more money on a hand grinder. So keep that in mind, weigh up the pros and cons. If you're able to find a Eureka Perfetto that is maybe a second-hand version, then definitely recommend going for it. and making sure that that person who is selling it to you has maintained it well and has looked after the grinder and the burrs well. So guys, there you have it. There is my review, 3-year review of the Eureka Perfetto all-rounder coffee grinder for home, for cafes, as a decaf grinder, as a standalone single origin grinder. I hope you've enjoyed it. I know it may have been a little bit hectic and I gave a lot of information there. I hope it's been helpful. I hope it's been informative. If you have any more questions about the Eureka Perfetto grinder, drop them down in the comments. I'd love to interact with all of you, get the conversation going and talk some more about this grinder. If you've used the Specialita, I would especially love to hear from you because I've not used that grinder. So I'd love to know about your experience down in the comments below as well. Now, if you haven't already, I'm going to be putting more long form content like this out over the coming months and maybe even the coming years, depending on how well my YouTube channel goes. I love creating this type of content, so it would mean the world to me if you could hit the thumbs up button, drop a comment, and even subscribe. Will be super helpful for me to help grow this channel. In the meantime, I'm going to say, in the beautiful words of the good man, James Hoffman, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.